So let's talk about illnesses and their spiritual connotations when it comes to the Mesopotamian, Sumerian, Babylonian belief system. This one's actually rather interesting, so this video is a little bit of a spur of the moment. So, due to the fact that way back when, in Mesopotamia, they didn't really have the understanding of illnesses that we do now. They saw illnesses as being afflicted either by negative entities, negative spirits, or vengeful gods or goddesses. And there were two types of doctors that dealt with this. With the research that I've done, effectively both of them kind of had a spiritual component to it. So, but there's a little bit of a difference, right? So you have the Asipu, who can be kind of seen as witch doctors or exorcists, right? Which is kind of more of the angle that the Simon Necronomicon takes in terms of banishing and dealing with negative entities and spirits. And then there was just the Asu, who kind of looked at things from more of a physical standpoint. So, for lack of a better translation of their viewpoints, the Asu actually looked more at the physical symptoms, and the Asipu looked more at the spiritual symptoms, albeit the fact that they both kind of had a spiritual or supernatural idea of what happened to someone when they were ill. So, if you got sick back then, it was basically because you offended a spirit. It was kind of a wake up call of you need to right your wrongs. You have to make offerings and apologize to whatever deity or entity it was that you pissed off, right? So, if you got sick, an Asu or an Asipu would work with you mainly in the temples. So the temples, like the ziggurats or wherever the deities were worshipped, were kind of hospitals, hospital-esque. Definitely not as sanitary, but so you would have. Oh god, I coughed. Uh-oh, this is bad. Um, who did I offend this time? Anywho, so you would have an Asu or an Asipu work with you and make offerings on your behalf. Now, you could still die, right? Regardless of what happened and what offerings were made and what deities were prayed to and such. And this was kind of seen as either another deity was offended other than the one that you made offerings to, or the one that was made offerings to on your behalf, or you might have placated one god or entity or whatever, but another one was still pissed, and you kind of did not go through the motions in either a more thorough enough way or a quick enough way to placate them before their anger and frustrations with you basically took you out. So the idea that illnesses came from something that you did wrong that made the gods angry kind of gives us that first idea before biblical texts and stuff like that. So once again, I'm sitting with my foot on my soapbox, pointing some things out where this is where the idea of sin and punishment for sin basically originally came from in Mesopotamia. Was you offended a god, goddess, or entity or whatever, and then the way that they could punish you was through sickness. So, like, the main nature of people, given this idea of, I guess you could kind of tie it to original sin, was the idea that as humans, we tend towards selfish aspects and the idea of competitiveness and wanting what we want and hurt others. So like the gods and goddesses and whatnot, we were created alongside them or by them to be their workers. So of course they wanted us to survive and be healthy and do good, but of course because we had such a there was a lot of us, they could kind of take the bad ones out. what is it? Cut the wheat for the chaff. Weed out the bad ones, and so illness was just their way of saying you're good, you're good, you're good, you suck, goodbye. So applying this to, let's say, modern day medical knowledge, we do know that how you feel about your own illnesses can affect how you heal. There's tons of studies on how something like supernatural intervention, let's say through prayer, can actually have a positive impact on how one deals with or the outcome of someone's sickness. Also, there are tons of documented cases where when people are super sick and they just literally give up and their spirits are just way down, right? That that can actually lead to someone getting worse or dying. Even our emotional state can affect our immune system. So, a lot of times, if you have a spiritual component to your life, you are much more likely, and if you're active with it and all that other stuff, you are much more likely to kind of feel more whole inside and have more of a positive outlook on life, and therefore your immune system is more fortified, right? And therefore you are less likely to get sick. So, I mean, this was really interesting to dig into in terms of how they looked at medical science and sickness and how they dealt with it. Because through all this research and everything in Mesopotamia had a spiritual component to it. So it was really interesting to. I did some research on the basically patron deity, who is a female deity of medical science. And that's actually her name is Gula, which is going to be my next video, I think, in terms of scheduling. But just look forward to that one. So I'm going to go more into who was worshipped in regards to the medical science and when somebody got sick. She's like the patron goddess of doctors. So, I hope that everybody that watched this video kind of feels above the weather, because the weather's crappy out here. And, so if you happen to be sick, well, maybe bring some spirituality into your life. That might help help you feel better. Good hunting. Thanks for watching my video. So if you want to check out my playlists, I have, among others, the Simon Necronomicon, the Tree of Life, General Magic, Tulpamancy, a playlist on my books, the elements, stones, the theories that govern magic, and the gods and goddesses of Mesopotamia. If you want to check out my books on Amazon, I have Creating Consciousness, Magical Mechanics, Magical Theater, Handy Sigil Magic, Magical Movement, which is an update and expansion upon Handy Sigil Magic, Magical Mastery, which is a combination masterwork of Magical Theater and Magical Mechanics, and The Guide to the Spheres and Beyond. You can also find me on Facebook at Magickology YT. You can email me at priestofthenecro@gmail.com, and you can even check out my Instagram, which is Magickology. And good hunting.